Hey there, welcome back to Total Geek Live Baltimore Presents. I'm Baltimore, and today I am bringing you the Infinity Trilogy, or it's also known as the Mad Titan Thanos Trilogy. This is exciting because we have a huge new movie coming out, Avengers Infinity War. You may have heard of it, I'm not sure. But I kind of wanted to give you a rundown of the Infinity Gauntlet and the Infinity War and Infinity Crusade, which are the 90s crossover series that the movie will be kind of based off of. It's a really exciting. These are all basically back-to-back summer blockbuster comic events that Marvel produced in 91, 92, and 93. And they're pretty cool. It's pretty interesting to kind of see these kind of develop and how we can kind of guess maybe what's going to happen with Infinity War. But let's talk about this. So the first entry is Infinity Gauntlet. And this is by legendary creator Jim Starlin. It's a Marvel masterpiece. It's really great. It's exciting. It's only 6 issues, so it's self-contained, but it has a huge ramification. And you can probably pick where you can see what they've, put into the movie version. So it starts off with Thanos, who's in love with death, the personification of death, and he wants to woo her and please her. And Thanos is kind of a wackadoo guy, crazy villain man, and the only way he can think of to, give something to the goddess of death, to give death, is to kill half the population of the entire world, or the entire galaxy. And that includes, a lot of heroes. So it kind of gets the attention of, the Marvel people. So the heroes find out about this and are just trying to react to it, and they have to combat him. And what they don't know at the time is he has put together all the Infinity Gems. Infinity Gems in the Marvel Universe and in the MCU is called Infinity Stones. But these are gems controlling power, space, time, mind, reality, and soul. So all these 6 gems form the Infinity Gauntlet when they're put together in this thing, which you've seen from the photos. And they are able to basically give you omnipotent power, just incredible control over almost everything, every aspect. And so it's basically like, okay, yeah, how are you going to defeat this guy? He's got all the stuff on his side, and we just got our, shield. Maybe some repulsor rays and a hammer. How are we going to, defeat him? But it's a really, really interesting and complex story that Starlin has created, and it's really, really cool. How do you stop this Mad Titan? So it gives some really, really great art that you get to see these panels from all these Marvel heroes just going up against Thanos and trying to stop him and trying anything they can to defeat him. And there's some heartbreaking scenes where you're just like, the sheer power of Thanos is unbridled, and it's kind of like, whew, I don't know how they're going to get out of this mess. The stakes are huge, and the entire cosmos is at stake here. So it's got a lot of great issues with like cosmic life and death, balance, consequences, that are still pretty important when you read them today, which is partly why, the Infinity Gauntlet and the Infinity War and Crusade kind of resonate still and have been, kind of picked at to come up with the MCU versions. So there's some great storytelling here. I absolutely think you should check this out, the Infinity Gauntlet. It's contained in, one trade paperback. You can get that pretty easily. But it's really, really great. And, one of my favorite things from the book, from that book, is Captain America standing up to Thanos, and I'll show a picture of it. But it's Captain America saying, "As long as one man stands against you, Thanos, you'll never be able to claim victory." And that is quintessential Captain America, and you know what I'm talking about. It's super great. So this was 91 that came out, and it was kind of like really, really great and exciting. And I think it kind of spurred Marvel to kind of like, okay, people really resonate with this. Let's go even further. So they created the Infinity War as a sequel the next year, the next 92. And this one was pretty good. It kind of takes off directly where the Infinity Gauntlet left off. So Thanos is in alone. He's in exile. He's been defeated, and he's tasted the glory of godhood, and he wants that back again. So Jim Starlin comes back again to tell us a tale about him, and so this one was a little bit different. You had a more of a question of duality, good and evil, and how do they exist, and if is there a balance there? So we had doppelgangers of all the Marvel heroes. Their evil counterparts came around. So you get to see them battling against each other, stalemate sort of, against these creatures that were basically their opposite member. And it was really kind of cool to see that happening. But in between this time, Adam Warlock, who is basically a very, very powerful cosmic being, has taken the Infinity Gauntlet and has given one of each of the 6 stones to his a team that he's created called the Infinity Watch. And their goal is to watch the Infinity Stones and make sure they don't fall into the bad hands. So he's been doing this since the end of Infinity Gauntlet, and this is where part of the Infinity War takes place in, or crossover with. And so each of those characters has one of the Infinity Gauntlets, or Infinity Stones, which would be Gamora, Drax, Pip, Adam Warlock himself, and Moondragon. And so they all have one stone to kind of watch and take control over and be in charge of. So it's kind of a cool concept, and I enjoyed that series as well. But back to the Infinity War, which takes its name, or will have his name taken to the Avengers Infinity War. This one is a little bit different because you have these good versus evil things, and part of what makes Adam Warlock so interesting is he has an evil doppelganger as well, an evil version of himself called the Magus, and he is whereas Adam Warlock is good and pure and everything great, Magus is the complete opposite. He's awful, mean, cruel, vindictive, and terrible. And so they're each opposite sides of the coin, separate sides of the same coin, and they're in constant conflict with each other. So this is a really great way to play with the concept of duality, good and evil, that Starlin really excels at. And you have Doctor Doom and Kane the Conqueror, which are these huge Marvel villains teaming up with Thanos. Or with Magus, and of course, they end up betraying each other and turning against each other, as villains always seem to do. But it's still an interesting ride along with them. So that's pretty great. The complaint I have about this sequel is, bigger doesn't always necessarily mean better, and more isn't always more. There's bigger characters, more characters, a lot more things going on, and it kind of muddies the central through line of the story. The art's still great. I enjoyed that. I liked it. And it's not necessarily a retread of Gauntlet or anything that happened before. It kind of moves the story forward, but it's just a little bit not as successful of a sequel. The stakes are high. Thanos wants to get those gems back, and there's a lot of interesting discussions between good and evil that take place in this series that you don't often get in comic books. So that was really cool. The next one, the kind of end of this Infinity Trilogy, is called Infinity Crusade. And it basically happens, this is split off into 2 different trades, so you want to get the 2 parts of that if you were going to get that. But this is the, capping off point of the Infinity Trilogy, and the goddess comes together to eliminate evil from the world. So all evil is gone. There is no choice. It's only good. You can't have anything like that happen. No bad. So that always works out well, right? Right. It's an interesting concept. Free will versus determination is always something that's kind of a fascinating topic with myself. I enjoy that kind of, question about do we have free will? Can we choose what we do, or is everything kind of predestined to happen? Can you choose to be good or choose to be evil? And there's always that choice, that kind of moment where you can choose to do the right thing, or you can choose to go down the other path. And so this is kind of an interesting thing to work with. It is one of the least successful of the trilogy issue titles, but it's still pretty cool. So the goddess has, gotten a lot of people under her spell, under her will, so to speak, and good is only happening. And it's pretty interesting. She's not as threatening as you might imagine her to be, even though she seems like she should be that kind of threatening. But after the Thanos and after Magus, she's just not as like oomph that you would expect. But the concept of removing all evil is a interesting thought. It just doesn't get really fleshed out well enough. And by this time, not only did you have the actual 6 issues for Infinity Crusade, but you had the Infinity Watch tie-in, you had Infinity, the Warlock Chronicles tie-ins, and then you had tie-ins to a lot of regular Marvel comics. So it just got kind of super watered down, and everything was crossing over, so they had their own little tales to tell, but just not all of them were as interesting, and certainly not as relevant or had to read to get the full story. So I think that's kind of where Marvel fell down on that one. The tie-ins really just lessened the impact, but it is pretty interesting. I do like the ending of Infinity Crusade. I thought it was kind of cool, but maybe you might skip it, just read the first 2. Or if you're real like Marvel man, you can kind of just pop in and check it all out. But I really do love all 3 of these. I do have the trade formats, all of them, and I do read them from time to time. So it does kind of have still a relevance. So you can go revisit them and still kind of get something new out of them, which is cool. The artwork is still great. I love that. And to see all the heroes kind of teaming up to try to stop Thanos is really awesome. And I'm sure we'll see that, coming up soon. But let me know what you think about Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity War, Infinity Crusade. What did you think about this Mad Titan trilogy that was created by Jim Starlin? I want to know your thoughts about it. So sound off below, like, comment, subscribe, and I will come back to you with more goodness. So as always, it's all geek to us.